Well, I don't know about you, but it seems like over the holidays we give each other a lot of junk for Christmas that we'll probably never use again, and it keeps the retailers and the malls happy, and who knows what it really does for the rest of us. And actually, over the years, our kids gave us gifts that really just, I think, were the most longest lasting gifts I've ever had in my life. And it was really from their heart. And both of them at different times, in different years, gave us little, like, plaques or letters in one form or another, telling us, as parents, individually, how much we meant to them over the years. Man, and they're up there in our room, both of them, and I see them every day, and they just, boy, they fill my heart every time I see them. I don't know why, what it is. In human nature, we like to be told we're doing a good job, or something, or somebody loves us and they appreciate what we're doing for them or whatever. We don't get that, particularly we're at work every day. When was the last time your boss said, well, we love you, and you're really just working out great, and you're so important to my life. Gosh, when do we get that? It's so rare. I'm fortunate. I get that once in a while because the public know about my work, and people come up into me in the streets and they just say, hey, I got your book at one time, and I started a business because of it, or keep up the good work. Man, that's more than if I sold 1 million copies, and put money in the bank. And then that's why I think most of us have that, in our life to be fulfilled. And we go through the holiday season just just giving all this junk. Like, I got a sweater from one of the guys up there. I've had it for 20 years. I've never worn it, and it's just on top of a whole bunch of other sweaters that falls down on the floor when I'm looking for something. And I pick it up. I'll never use that thing. But boy, those words on the wall, it just means something to me every single day of my life. Now, what could be a better thing than that? If you look at our Vice video, Vice magazine on YouTube did a video on us, and they follow it, and they have us reading those letters that are just tacked on our wall like that, and every day that means something. So when you're thinking of a gift to give a loved one or a friend or whatever, write it down. Nothing beats something that could be written down, just like the government likes it in paper. It's official. So if you write it down and what somebody's done for you and how important they are to you, man, that what could be better than that? Box of chocolates, a tie you'll never wear or whatever. And that's a gift that doesn't cost you anything. And you feel better because you've done it. It gives a wonderful feeling for you because you're giving your heart to somebody. And they get something from you that they can't get from anybody else. Now, what a gift, huh? And it's free. Do you know you can get your FBI records? That's right, what the FBI found out about you when they're listening to your phone calls and all this kind of stuff. So you can, and you don't need a private investigator or something like that to do it. You just call the FBI itself and go to the Freedom of Information Act office. That's FOIA. And you can Google like FBI FOIA request, and you'll find the office. Actually, you'll find some other neat things too when you Google that. There's a fella out, actually I don't know who it is because they're sort of unknown. They have a website called Get My FBI File and Get Grandpa's FBI File. And they give you a sample letter. But you can't even get a hold of them or know where they are, try to find them. They don't. They're sort of, I guess they're where the FBI is going to find out about them. But anyway, you don't have to use them because it's the same thing the FBI has, even more up to date, on their website. They have sample letters you can send out. You just fill in the blanks, and send it in. And actually, I'm going to get mine now because actually years ago I helped them trying to get somebody to defect. I had a friend in Russia. This is before the wall came down. It was a different country. But to see what they have on me, and it'd be good to do. Actually, it'd be fun to have as a gift for somebody too. Actually, you get like a dead grandma or grandfather or something. See what the FBI had on them. Actually, actually, you know, what's interesting, you can go on their files, and they have the files of the FBI, the Vault it's called, and now it's open to the public. You can see FBI records on, you know, what records they have. After a certain amount of time, they just open them up. And now you could see records on things like people, famous people years ago, Charlie Chaplin, you know, and who was it? Gosh, Irving Berlin or Louie Louie. If you're old enough, back in 1963, there was a record called Louie Louie, whoa, whoa, we gotta go, or something like that. I sort of remember. That's, I think, the year I graduated in high school. That was 61. And actually, here's a record you can see right on their website now. See, this is public information now. And it said 1963, a rock group called the Kingsmen recorded a song called Louie Louie. You know, the popularity of the song and the difficulty in discerning the lyrics led to people suspect that the song was obscene. You know, there's a one word, like they said, fuck or something, I don't know what it was, in there, and everybody was talking about it, and nobody could hear it. So the FBI came to the rescue. The FBI was asked to investigate whether or not those involved in this song violated laws against interstate transportation of obscene material. And the limited investigation lasted from February to May in 1964 and discovered no evidence of obscenity. Boy, what it took them. February to May, so it's 3-4 months, yeah, they figured that out. Elizabeth Taylor, there's not, and this is public records now, you can see it right online. George Steinbrenner, well, you know, the guy on the Yankees, or maybe he still does, I don't even know. He said, I see he died in 2010, is best known for the principal order and managing partner of the New York Yankees for 37 years. Okay, the release of the records about him contains material from 3 files covering illegal campaign contributions made by Steinbrenner and his company to the Nixon presidential campaign. A laboratory analysis from the FBI the Federal Highway Administration, and several anonymous letters concerning possible fraud in the federal highway program in Ohio, and Steinbrenner's appeal for a pardon from this conviction for illegal campaign contributions and obstruction of justice, you know, goes on and on like that. I mean, it's just fun stuff. But the FBI is a treasure trove. And actually, I thought about that because I saw a movie recently called Citizen 4. You know, that's the guy who made the public information about the records, you know, from NASA or NSA, you know, and it's a fascinating movie. Now, I'm putting a block on my camera. I mean, the power that people now have through the, you know, computer and everything is astounding, and that's going to be a new problem in our country, you know, the abuse of this kind of information. And the government, you know, is going to be #1. I mean, we're building special places in Utah, you know, to keep all this data they're collecting on people. And, but it's an interesting and eye-opening movie, if you see that, called Citizen 4. And also they have records here on the Monkees, you know, that goofy, you know, boy band back in the 60s or whatever. The Monkees were a U.S. pop band created for a television show in 1966. The band also toured and made record albums, and when after the show was canceled. References to the band appear in 2 places in FBI files. In 1967, Los Angeles field office on the anti-Vietnam War activities, and the second document that was redacted. It means they covered all the stuff up. So, I mean, it's amazing what Big Brother's looking at you. So it's a good place to find out if they have anything on you, because there's a form right there you fill out. It tells you how long it's going to take and what's involved. And then you can look at this popular culture stuff. But all the information is there. You don't have to hire anybody, you know, to figure this out for you. It's public information, and it's probably worth starting to learn. And actually, we're going to do a website now called Lesko Big Data, or I'm sorry, Big Data Lesko, like Big Daddy, Big Voodoo Daddy, but this is Big Data Lesko. And to try to get the public information, you know, in a single website that people could use, useful stuff. that's already out there in computerized form, not only pieces of paper. So you want to find out about, also there's people that, you can find out about dead people too. So it's good historical reference for your family. So if you want to get information about, your grandma, grandpa, or uncles and aunts that are passed away, and give them as Christmas presents even, to members of the family is nice to have. And ACLU is another place. If you say FBI, does FBI have a file on you? ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, they keep up on the laws and regulations, for doing this. So that's two ways. You go to the FBI itself, and FBI FOIA request, and then the ACLU, does FBI have a file on you? I think that the young people have it right, or at least these 20-year-olds. There's a survey done about 20-year-olds and what they're thinking about the future. Actually, it's called the Z generation, or Generation Z. And that's people like from 16 to 19 years old. They did a survey. And I think it's important to watch what these younger people are doing. Mainly, I'm 70 years old, and I plan to be here 20 more years. So these people are 20 years now. They're the people going to be doing things in the next 20 years that I gotta figure out what they're up to, because they're the people who change the world, right? Not us old farts who figured it out yesterday, but we have no idea what is tomorrow. And that's what young people are so great about. All they've been doing is looking at the world and figuring out how to find a place in the world, And what we do, particularly if you have some little success in life and getting older, man, you're trying to recreate the world because it worked one way, that way, a long time ago, and you're trying to make it work again. And that ain't gonna happen. Our world is changing so quickly, that you can't make something that worked yesterday work for you tomorrow. That's why it's good to watch out what the young people are doing, because you can take your wisdom and their knowledge about how they see the future. And they have the technology and tools to use our society today than older people do. So this survey of young people, 16 to 19 years old, is important. And look at this, 42% of them, they say they expect to work for themselves. Right now in our country, only less than 10% of the people work for themselves. So that's 42%. And if you're an African American, that's 60%. If you're Hispanic, that's 59%. So look at that. Almost half the people, young people, expect to work for themselves. Now, why do they think that way? Well, I think it's because they see, hey, getting a job ain't what it used to be, or ain't what it's cracked up to be. No job is safe anymore. There's no pension, no retirement, no health care. People don't care what you're doing in organizations anymore. Look at every big company. Call Comcast and try to get some help. Man, or whatever, So it's not a very rewarding life like it used to be. And I'm sure they see that, so many people sacrifice 10, 20 years in these corporations, and they don't care. They lay off at the drop of a hat. Because, see, the corporations now make more money if they lay people off. And even investors are getting screwed because the people who run the corporation, they have a lot of stock. And if they get rid of investors and buyback, that means their price goes up. So, the people running big corporations nowadays are working just on the stock market, whatever the stock market, because they get paid more in stock. So why should they care 10 years from now, 20 years from now? They're going to be gone, and they'll get there. As long as the price of the stock goes up, they'll make a lot of money, and they're out of there, and who cares? So it's not very wise, it seems, to work for these big corporations anymore, and it's hard to find good small ones, so people are looking to start your own, and that's what's going on now. Now, not only that, but look at this, 63% want more entrepreneurial courses in college. So they're going to college, paying all this money, so they want to know about how to start their own businesses. And I've talked to, we've done interviews on young people who are getting money in college or even high school, using the internet to get free money to start businesses already. Man, you couldn't do that even as a grown-up 10 years ago. And now kids 16 years old are doing that. So they're learning the system because they're tuned into it. They're looking at stuff on the internet. You and I just look at news or something in our email or whatever, and they're surfing around looking for all the opportunities. Also, 72% of these people want to design their own courses too. And 25%, that's right, 25% of the people think that debt, any kind of debt, is unmanageable. So they don't want to be in debt at all. And this is what grew our economy in the last 10, 15 years. People going in debt. Didn't make enough money because incomes didn't go up, right? So people went in debt so they could have more money to keep their lifestyle. And then the chickens are coming home to roost on that now too. So young people, I guess, see that. I mean, they smell what's going on. You ask a 7-year-old, if the parents are angry, and even though they're acting nice in front of adults, the 7-year-old knows. Instinct, tells these kids, because they don't have all this other nonsense bull carrying around in their head that we grown-ups do. Also, 64% are concerned about getting a job. 64% worry about getting work. Okay, 60% worry about having enough money. So that's 60% of the people worrying about this stuff. This is interesting for young people. You think all these young people are in their faces and their computers and their smartphones and everything, and they don't know how to deal with people. Nonsense. Look at this. Only 15% would rather use social media to contact their friends than personal. So, even though they know how to use this stuff, they're using it, and they don't think it's all up what they used to be. I mean, they think that's, we think that young people won't know how to talk to people in person or something, and that's nonsense, isn't it? They'd rather do that, so obviously they're going to learn it. Things you like to do, you're going to learn how to do it. Things you don't like to do, that's another story. Also, this is interesting. 69% say their parents are their top role models. Man, my parents were just a pain in my butt most of my life. I felt they were my way to do anything. I guess parents, of my generation, would learn that, man, you miss so much if you're not communicating with your kids and enjoying the difference they have, than you have. And now, see, I do it because I'm selfish. My kids are like 30 years old, plus or minus, and I want to know what they're up to because I got to be here now 20, 30 more years maybe, and I got to know what's going on. And they know better than me, I figure. So also 64% say health care should be free for anybody. Okay, look at elections now. You have all this old folks that are, conservative old folks, it should be like this, like it was 30 years ago. And young people don't believe that. When they start voting more, man, and the older people start dying off more, this is what we're probably going to be coming. And also this is this. 73% thinks anybody should have the right to marry. 73%, man. That's a hell of a lot more than plurality or whatever that word is, you know what I mean? So as these people get older, man, that'll be an issue nobody even worry about. Or even here, it says 74% say transgender people should have equal rights. So, talk about being liberal. I mean, this is 74% of the people 20 years old. So, and they're going to go through the population. Liberal, conservative, those kind of social kind of issues won't be a problem anymore. And here, 55% say everyone should have the right to become a citizen. Boy, in this immigration reform, I wonder if we're going to hear from the young people, because that'll shock a lot of people. And so now for entrepreneuring. So the kids, young people see, hey, the way to succeed for them to succeed in the world is to have their own job. Okay, so how do you get help to do that? Okay, you could go to small business development centers, and just, you can Google small business development centers. They're all around the country. 3,000 of them. They're free. They won't charge you anything. Any kind of entrepreneurial idea you have, you can make an appointment and then, hey, how do I become a consultant maybe to people I've been working for and I don't want to work for them anymore? Or hey, how do I take this craft I have and I want to sell it somehow and I don't have any money and I don't know how to do it? See, these people will do that for you. They'll help you think that. Don't go Google, how to get help with my business. You'll get some huckster like me trying to sell you something, or an accountant trying to charge you $3,000, to set up your books. You don't care. You don't have a client yet. Don't do that. So get the free help first. And that's right. No matter what the future is, right now, there's a lot of stuff you can get for free. I think this next video says a lot about what's going on in our country nowadays. I mean, the traditional stuff isn't happening anymore. Now, here's a young woman who all of a sudden got pregnant and she's going to have a baby and needed money to fix up the room she had. And she learned how to do crowdfunding on it. Instead of going to the bank and get a mortgage, you know, or a refinance or a loan and all that kind of stuff. No, she learned how to use the internet. Because she was able to do that, now she's starting a business because she wants to stay at home. She lives near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, actually, and to stay at home with her children. So she's starting a business at home, showing other people how to do that, how to finance, down payments to real estate, anything to do with your house, fix up your kitchen, your living room, or buy a house, or anything like that. You want to put in a new garden. Well, the money for that. And so this website is aimed at showing people how to get money that is not traditional banks. See, everybody, we live in a society, we always think of one way to do everything. You know, you do what you're told, you do what you learn in school, you do what the advertisements tell you. And see, all the advertisements are telling you that because they want money from you. So the only reason they spend so much money telling you, oh, you're going to get money here better, faster, cheaper than anywhere else, because they're making money off you, you know. And the good stuff, you know, doesn't. Like she's did this without advertising. It's just really hustling on the internet, learning that. Anybody could do it. I mean, there's no big magic. You don't have to be a PhD in physics or something like that. No. And so many people that I've interviewed over these last year or two, I've interviewed 700 maybe people who have used the internet like this for money and getting money. You know, and you know, I would say anywhere between 70 and 90% of these people never did anything like that before. They had no background, no education and training to do this. They just set out and do this. See, our education system, I think, you know, and I got a lot of it. I got an MBA, so many years in school, tell you about things in the traditional sense. And the traditional sense of things, I don't think works anymore. And you have to now use non-traditional things to get ahead and find out. So you know, they'll have classes in this kind of stuff when it's over. When when everybody's been doing it 10 years, then you'll be able to get a PhD and do this. Now it's like the gold rush. You know, there were no classes and going out and learning how to get gold in San Francisco. People just went and got it, you know. And that's what it's like now. And so if you have a lot of education, I think that's even a detriment because you think there's a special way to do everything. No, it's going out and learning what works for you. And see, the learning process is cheap. Why spend $50,000 a year now it costs in college for what? What the heck? These people are getting out and, you know, being baristas at, you know, at Starbucks. And so if you want to make a living, man, there's so many more ways to do that now. And see, when you get in debt like that, then you're going to take some job you hate just to pay off that bill that you got for school, and then you're in jail. That's jail to me. Being in a job you hate to pay off a loan or something that you had to, man, that's living a life of servitude. You don't want to live like that, so cut your overhead. Don't go into debt. Don't get all this stuff that makes you do things that you don't want to do all day, you know. And so if you keep your overhead low, you can start investigating things that are not going to make you a zillionaire by Tuesday, you know. That doesn't happen, you know. But it gives you a life that's rewarding. It's things you want to do. Isn't it the best thing in life to wake up doing what you really want to do? That's something that money can't buy. It's priceless. So watch how she's done it. Well, Linda Oborowski, man, a busy mom in Hershey, Pennsylvania, really started the world's first website, you know, that you can, anybody can get money to fix up their house, buy a house, get down payment money or everything. Man, you know, with crowdfunding, the way it's going now, you were smart enough to see a specialized market because everybody wants a home. Everybody wants to fix up their home.
Yeah.
And how did you come to the idea of starting this website? Why did you do that?
Yeah, well, I came up with this idea when I was pregnant with my second daughter. And, my friends and family were asking me, what can we get you for the baby? And I just kept feeling like in my head, I don't really need any more stuff. What I need is money for a home improvement to turn one of the bedrooms in my house into a nursery. And, really my own need, I felt like, well, it's kind of awkward for me to ask for the cash. Everybody just wants to send, a stroller or a onesie. So, what I came up with was Feather the Nest, which is a unique way to fund your real estate or home improvement needs.
So the basic thing is that people could go on and ask their friends or non-friends or anybody for help in achieving your real estate kind of needs, and it's easier to do because you got a middle person actually to handle the transactions and do all this, and it's not going to somebody's door with a hat in your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
But you were saying interesting things off the air is that we don't realize how many times in our life we ask for money, and sometimes people, if they're going on the internet asking for money or something like that, they freeze up, and there's no need to do that, you say, because we're already practiced on how to do that.
You don't realize how many times in your life you ask for money. I mean, even if you're not a teenager, but really that teenage years, you're asking for, Mom, can I have 20 bucks, all the time. And think about all those times that you've asked for money of your parents. Even you ask for money at the bank for a loan.
Right.
You ask for money at work with a salary negotiation or an increase. And I think there's a lot of things that we learn through those interactions with people that we can learn when we're raising money on the internet. Be nice, be honest, and want to make sure that that's first and foremost. And then don't pile on the reasons, right? When you ask for, hey, Mom, 20 bucks, you don't say, I need it for this, 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 and this. You say, I need it for gas, right? That's exactly what you need it for. One reason. Keep it simple. People understand that. They say, and on the other side of that, they're saying, wow, okay, you need 20 bucks for gas. I know gas is expensive. Here's 20 bucks. Not like, oh, I need it for this and this and this. So you just try one reason, and that helps. And make the request reasonable. Again, with that Mom 20 bucks request, you didn't ask for 150 bucks. You asked for 20 bucks. So make sure that you're asking for reasonable amounts. And
your website is sort of aimed at that. I mean, people on there, they're not asking friends for $10,000 for a down payment. People are chipping in 100 bucks or whatever to make this happen.
So you'd be amazed at the amount of small donations can really add up, and it can really accelerate your savings for a house. I mean, it's hefty to raise money for a down payment, and a lot of people think that's daunting and feel like I'm never going to get there. But you can really accelerate it by using our site to crowdfund and ask your peers and your family and friends for some money towards that goal.
And I think that what's nice about your site, I think it's in life. I mean, I think that giving is the most selfish thing to do, because it feels so good to give to somebody, and so somebody needs a home, or a new baby needs to redo the room. I mean, kicking in 100 bucks for something to do that, I mean, that is almost giving a gift to the person giving. So now they have a place to help, and if you're a nice person, man, people want to give to nice people. People have, and you're not giving to like the National Foundation for Improving Baby Rooms or something.
Right. It's personal connection. You can see, you can track the progress, see how people are doing in their goal and how much they're raising, and it's great to be able to have a tangible way to see the money that you've given.
But you've got people on your site, like a student, they need furniture in his dorm room or something.
Yeah, we have people funding everything for every kind of different home. We had a student who raised money for furniture for his first apartment. He didn't have any furniture, and he needed some, I think it was bedside tables and a couple other things.
Wow.
And, again, to that singular ask,
right.
He got his nest fully funded because, he had a really singular, narrow focus.
So it can be just a few $100s worth of stuff you need, you know.
Right. It doesn't always have to be $20,000 for a down payment. It can be furniture. It can be small. It can be big. We actually let you set your own amount, and you determine your own time frame as well.
Oh, that's right. So you get whatever money, you know. If you're asking for $10,000 and only get $3,000, you get the $3,000. But yeah, on your featherthenest.com. But more importantly, I think is that you charge probably the lowest rate in the industry that I've run into. Only 5%, you know, is the processing fee you guys charge. I mean, most of these crowdfunding sites are charging 7–10% or more. You know?
Yeah.
So you're a bargain.
To speak about us is I know, and it'll take a chunk out of what you're raising, right?
Right.
And so we've kept our fee low, and what we do is we actually give you your money within 2 business days.
Wow. So in other words, somebody gives
wait till the end of your campaign.
So as all of a sudden you got $300, you get the $300 in 2 days, and the money keeps coming in, and then you keep sending it out, right? Yeah. You don't have to wait till the end of everything.
It's easier for everybody. We don't have to hold it for you, and you have it right away.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Lindsay, it's a joy to meet you, and thanks for being there in Hershey, Pennsylvania. That's near my hometown of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. So thank you for being there and showing the rest of the world entrepreneurs can come from anywhere and do almost anything the way you are doing, and really help people with important needs in the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's nice to have you. And featherthenest.com. Yep. Thank you, Lindsay. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You know, 1 in 10 Americans have free money just sitting right in their government offices, and they don't even know about it. Actually, it's in your state offices. And I just saw an article in the New York Times recently about this again. I mean, I thought that's what's so nice being in business so long. Same business. I can reuse ideas. I've been talking about this thing for 10, 20 years, maybe more than that. You know, I remember I got off a show in a taxi cab in Los Angeles, and again in the airport, the cop came up to me and said, "Hey, Lesko, I saw you on some show the other day, and you told about this unclaimed money. Man, I called and got he said like $1,800 or something." You know, and what's neat though now with the Christmas season, this is a good place to look at these offices and find gifts for all your relatives. The woman who wrote the books with me, she used to do this every Christmas, and find, in the states where they live, they have databases, and you just look, and say, "Oh, Aunt Helen has $1,200 sitting there, and I'll do a little gift certificate. Here, Aunt Helen, here's a gift for $1,200. It didn't cost you anything except a few minutes of searching on the internet." And the article in the New York Times about the money that's available in the New York State, they said there's money there for Madonna. See, they're supposed to find you. These state governments are supposed to find you, but I don't think any of them even know where Google exists. How to find anybody. Also, Madonna and Jerry Seinfeld had money sitting there for them, when they were doing their research for the New York Times. So, I mean, how hard are they really working to find you? That's right. Anything that's free, you have to do the work to get it, and that's what's cool. And the kind of money, why do you have this money? It's like all the stuff in your life you forgot about, like bank deposits, or somebody put a bank deposit in your name, or insurance companies, you're maybe the beneficiary of some insurance policy, or maybe you started an insurance policy 10 years ago, or a deposit account. Maybe your grandmother, when you were born, started a deposit account in your name and you never even thought about it, or it's actually like maybe a last paycheck. Maybe you left some company, 20 years ago and you were mad. Man, and the paycheck period was a month later, and they got this check sitting there for you. Security deposits, when you moved to Milwaukee and you needed a $100 security deposit, for to get electricity or whatever. That's gift cards, right? There are states now that have gift cards, unused money on a gift card. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. So 1 out of 10 people, and it's something like $33 billion that's just sitting there going unused is a big thing, and the bureaucrats are sitting on it, waiting for you to call, but you don't have to call. And actually what happens, there's companies that set up, and they'll send you a letter saying, we know the secret to getting this money. They just in your name there, and you just give us 20% or 35%, or they'll charge you $35. Nonsense. You don't have to do any of that, because the people, the elected officials who run this are dying to do it, give you, because, if they give you money, from their state, man, you vote for them longer, right? Because you think that they did it personally, but they didn't, And that's the average. The average claim is like $1,500 or something like that from these holdings. And there's a couple of websites, okay, that you could start looking. One is called missingmoney.com, and that's really with all the state government offices in one place. So you could just go to the one place, put in your name and your state, and they'll look for money. You get a big list. You can just put in your last name and see, maybe because you use three different names or whatever, like that. And that, there are some private organizations that do that, but this is the Association of Government Offices. So they're never going to hit you up or sell your name and stuff like that. So that's missingmoney.com. Now another website that's good on this is for IRA accounts. I mean, I was reading a story here. This one grandma, at 92 years old, she had like 27 IRA accounts. I think she was picking up toasters or something from all the banks in town if she opens an IRA account. So, so it's these money sitting in IRA accounts that you don't know about. Again, they're supposed to find you if you don't. There's a national registry that has about 200,000 of these accounts, and that's at unclaimedretirementbenefits.com. So that's unclaimedretirementbenefits.com. Because you may have retirement benefits that you forgot about. I mean, I taught at a university, years and years ago, when I was in my 30s, which was many years ago, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I get this thing. It's like $25,000. I had no idea it was there. Forgot all about it. So we can't know everything in life. Life gets complicated as you get older, or even younger. You forget easy because it's not important. Then also MetLife, life insurance policies that maybe somebody made you the beneficiary of, or that you started a policy, 20 years ago and paid a couple months and then forgot about it and everything. Well, there's money sitting there. MetLife.com/policy finder has a database for their policy. They're one of the biggest. So you go to metlife.com/policy finder and to start looking there. Now, I also did an interview with the state Secretary of State in Pennsylvania. And you could see that interview. There's about a 10-minute interview that he explains the details of what they have for the state government. You go to youtube.com/Matthew Lesko 70. And you just search for 1 in 10 Americans have money in their state capital. 1 in 10 Americans have money in their state capital. That's what you search for on Google. And it's on Matthew Lesko 70 account there. Don't forget, they couldn't find Madonna, so they sure as heck aren't going to find you. 1 in 10 Americans have money sitting there. Again, a gift item. For every, imagine you put it up, a nice little gift card at Christmas, and you, hey, here's where to get your $1,200. And it's free to you. Wait! You don't have to search for the interview on YouTube. I put it right here, so watch it now. Well, give us your name.
And my name's Rob McCord.
Well, thank you for having us here, Rob.
Sure.
He's the treasurer of Pennsylvania, and this office is so neat. I asked him if his house was as neat as this.
I have a lot of staff to help me here.
Okay. Well, it's wonderful. I mean, I'm always fascinated by government officials and what they do, and I know you have some great things that the average citizen should know about. So tell us about your office.
Well, I will, and I can't resist by opening though by saying I'm a longtime Matthew Lesko fan, so that might mean I'm certifiable. And you turn this. No, but
first-time caller.
That's our first-time callers. But we served together on in an operation at something called the Congressional Institute for the Future back in the day in D.C. And you're always a great entrepreneur. It was a bipartisan thing. People getting together talking about wild ideas like that human activity might cause global climate change.
We were talking about it earlier, and you don't have to listen to this part, but is that
I think why we got along, you just wanted to do so many things. When you had a board, I don't know why the board always asking all these questions. You had a guy like you who was smart and everything and wanted to accomplish all this, and they would all just put in roadblocks. Why you were shit. The guy wants to do something. Let him do something. We're not doing anything. So what are you doing here?
Well, the Treasurer's Office in Pennsylvania, a little more than half of the states in the United States have directly elected state treasurers. So it's a really cool gig if you can get it. Because it's a statewide office, you have standing to speak about anything that connects to the economy and economic security and investment.
Are you part of a ticket?
I'm actually a different party than the current governor.
Oh,
so I'm part of the loyal opposition. I'm a sort of a pragmatic Democrat. I have a Wharton MBA. I helped to create a few thousand jobs in private equity. I'm very proud of that background. But I'm also a progressive, and I'm a Democrat. And so it's different because in Pennsylvania we have a Republican governor, a Republican Senate, Republican House.
Wow.
And the state has a 1.3 million vote Democratic majority. So I'm sort of
how'd you get all those Republicans?
Well, it's a little bit the voice of loyal opposition. Now, I ran in 2008. A lot of less affluent people only turn out to vote in presidential cycles. 2010 was the gubernatorial election. That's when the state house also went Republican, et cetera. And I have a lot of friends in the Republican
Some of your best
caucus.
friends,
Not I didn't say necessarily. I joke that I represent the Dwight Eisenhower wing of the Democratic Party.
That's how I feel we all are.
I don't know about all, but I do think a majority of Americans don't think the word moderate, don't think the word pragmatic, don't think the word compromise. They don't think any of those words are dirty words, and they're a little sad that there's a hijacking by the extremes.
And both parties.
Absolutely. Right. And so anyway, so I was independently elected. I came out of business, ran against some machine-backed people in a Democratic primary, ran against some machine-backed
really? Wow.
it was really fun. And it's also fun because you can be a bit entrepreneurial about how you form the office. And we very much look at the job in three different ways. You're a fiscal watchdog. You're also the chief investment officer. I help to invest $100 billion a year. We've made tens of billions of dollars. But the other thing, and as a fiscal watchdog, we help to stop tens of millions of dollars of bad checks from going out. It's better to stop waste before it goes out.
Bad checks mean the government?
They're about to pay somebody who shouldn't be paid.
Oh, I see.
We do pre-transaction audits, et cetera. But the third role we wear is I'm really also CEO of a 420-person operation.
Wow.
And that operation does a couple of things. It processes, billions of dollars, $70 billion worth of transactions. But it also runs programs that are designed to increase the economic security of Pennsylvanians.
That's
by the way, we pay for ourselves several times over while doing it. So the whole the positive cash flow from unclaimed property alone it pays for Treasury 3 times over.
Honest to goodness.
Yeah, it's about a 60 to 70-year-old thing, unclaimed property.
Tell the folks about that.
Unclaimed property is arguably the first widespread national consumer protection process that was developed at the state level. And at Pennsylvania, we're certainly leading edge. We're huge. We have almost a couple $2 billion of unclaimed property. And it's very, very important for the average person watching. If they're just clicking saying, I check out Lesko.com because they give me ideas about where to find money. If they're going to listen to nothing else, they should just check out, if it's across the country, missingmoney.com.
Okay.
They happen to be Pennsylvania residents. In addition to remembering the name McCord, they ought to also check out patreasury.gov.
So patreasury.gov is
our website, and you can search, and it's very easy to use. And we have all kinds of people who will help, and we have very high customer satisfaction.
What's in there now? Explain how money gets
there. So it's any kind of sort of abandoned property, and you abandon property without knowing you're doing it. We were talking before the camera turned on about how most of us who have any kind of government backing of our mortgages, and usually mortgages get government backing in order to be tradable. And so these large mortgage providers want you to have it. So they then want you to have a certain amount of equity in the home, but they also want you to have certain types of insurance. sometimes you build up a property value in that insurance. You sell the house, you forget you have that value. The mailing maybe goes to your old address, you're never found. That would be an example. An escrow account that you set aside and forget to close down. A last paycheck. A lot of us have multiple jobs before we get our long-term job. We're moving around. A security deposit. A gift card.
Or something?
Yes, apartments. A gift card.
Gift cards?
Gift cards go
All
on
the
you.
gift
So we have
cards?
$8.6 million of unclaimed property in Pennsylvania just flowing from gift cards.
So like a Sears gift card might be in there?
Exactly.
Wow.
So first of all, from the consumer point of view, purely for looking for their money and us reuniting their money with them. There's a great national association of unclaimed property administrators, and they've set up missingmoney.com.
That's the website
which is
for all the
fee-free,
states.
right? Which is fee-free.
Right.
You check for the whole country and say, "Gee, do I happen to have any?" And what I'm amazed by, I didn't do this at all until I started running for treasurer. Pretty much every year, I find some more unclaimed property in Pennsylvania.
For yourself?
For myself.
No kidding.
And in Pennsylvania, I give more away to charity than I collect, but meaning of my own personal assets. But it's a very interesting process. We estimate about 1 in 10 Pennsylvanians has unclaimed property. The average claim is $1,200.
The average claim is $1,200
in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And so it's not just
1 in 10
50
Pennsylvanians could get an average of $1,200.
Well, the average claim that's made, because a lot of people might check and go, well, it doesn't look like I have much, and they might not bother to do the claim.
Right.
And we have to check that there's no fraud. It's not like you just call up and say, trust me, I'm Matthew Lesko. Don't you like my voice? Send the check to the following P.O. box. So there's a certain process you go through, but we have worked hard to reduce the length of time. We've cut that more in half since we came into office.
And how big is that fund now?
It's just short of $2 billion.
$2 billion.
And then this is the other thing for anybody watching who's a little bit of a public policy.
And that's just Pennsylvania.
That's just Pennsylvania. It's about $33 billion, I believe.
$33 billion
as a whole. So there's $33 billion out there, about half of which is still claimable. Like a lot of times you have unclaimed property that's both unclaimed and undeliverable. Like you literally can't make out the names, or they don't. I see. But usually, if somebody is deceased, they have proper heirs and so forth. Yeah. So it's a process that has been significantly made easier by public entities that are out there. So for free for an American citizen, they are able to do these searches. The other point I make as a public policy nerd too is this is also positive revenue that's created without any distortion to the economy. So you say, well, gee, we're all worried about deficits. Right. We're all worried about taxes. We're all worried about public debt.
It's sitting in some bank.
Right. So the whole Pennsylvania Treasury, we transact $70 billion worth of transactions. We help to invest $100 billion a year. We do stuff that people definitely have apply a value to. All of our operations cost $33 million. We supply $115 million roughly of positive cash flow annually to the general fund of Pennsylvania through unclaimed property alone. And part of it, Matthew...
How do you get it for because it's unclaimed property, nobody's getting it, so that...
Right.
So there's like another $150 million extra that you guys just keep in the treasury.
Part of what happens is...
And that's off the books now.
Well...
off the $2 billion.
Yeah, the way... So I want to be careful with my phrasing. But generally...
You may run again.
Yeah, exactly. So the way it works is... somebody has unclaimed property. Maybe a bank has an unclosed account or whatever. After a certain number of years, 3, 4, 5 years, they're legally obligated to turn that money into the states nationally. This is the national law. Because I owned so many companies coming out of private equity, I thought, gee, I didn't know about this law. I wonder what percentage of business leaders and business owners know about this law. We did actual consumer research and tested business leaders. We found 92% of business leaders didn't know of the existence of this law. So we've driven up the supply of returns, the capital being through voluntary compliance, just by alerting people that, unbeknownst to you, you're probably not in compliance with this.
I see.
So they take, sometimes it's money that they're using. Often it's just goods that they're leaving so to speak, and they're lost and found.
I see. So instead of keeping it in their basement, they're giving it to you.
Exactly. They give it to us. We process it. We the first of its kind continuous online auction. So unless it's a very scarce good, we auction it off on eBay. Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And
eBay, it's all over.
So you can find all these things on eBay, but in addition, the property then has a cash value, a surrender value. About half the time, people never claim that property. So you can model for about half of all the property you're collecting turns into positive revenue without the distortions that are created either by tax signals or by any kind of debt.
How long are you able to keep it?
In Pennsylvania, it's in perpetuity that they are owed it. So there's never the injustice of saying, well, if I just showed up 6 months earlier, this would have been my money. Now, some states are what they call escheat states, and those states say after 10 years, if we've had it for 10 years and you haven't claimed it, it's ours now. I don't mind that in a sense the state owes it perennially, because after 10 years, the odds of somebody finding it are vanishingly small, but I like reuniting people with their property. If it's your property and you're owed it, we should give it to you. On the other hand, if you're not going to claim it, the public in general should benefit from that endowment. And so and also, frankly, it's an increase in the amount of benefit, because the average business isn't well put together to do a continuous eBay auction, to provide internet and telephonic.
It'd be a small piece whether you have an aggregate of everybody doing it.
So it's a really nifty way that, and we go out of our way to return property, to find people both in poor neighborhoods where the money's going to get respent very quickly, and that's good for the economy as a whole. We also find a lot of entities that especially help people, first responders, entities, and entities that help poor people, and after.
What do you mean? You'll go.
So we'll look under the name of their entities proactively in Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's interesting.
So the McCord Treasury, we're trying to be innovative. We're trying to do everything we can to behave more like an entrepreneur, clever entrepreneur like you. And we ask the question every few weeks. What can we be doing that's new and different, that maybe helps people economically? And so we've done a lot of tweaking of the unclaimed property and a lot of reform of the unclaimed property process.
So that's why you say you even have personal help and things like that. If you get on the website and put your name in, what the heck am I doing? And,
that's right.
Well, that's terrific. No, I believe in that. Now, there used to be, and maybe they're not around anymore, companies, for-profit companies that used to do this for you.
Right. And I'm really glad you mentioned that, because as a business person, I don't think you should illegalize intermediaries. But these entities are legally allowed to charge up to 15% of the value of what you're doing. So if it's a $1,200 claim, you're paying them $150 to do what you can do by clicking onto either patreasury.gov or missingmoney.org. Again, it's missingmoney.org. So people should really, this is one where a little bit of self-help is a pretty significant.
Or just the knowledge that it's there.
On the other hand, 85% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Is that the limit? They can't take more than 15%?
That's right. Legally, they can't.
But they'll probably figure out another way.
Wouldn't surprise me. Here's your application fee, followed by, I don't know. I don't want to overly cast aspersions, but
Well, what else are you doing? I see you doing other neat stuff. I mean, for businesses and.
Sure. I mean, first of all, it'd be unfair to the Office of Treasurer not to just highlight them. Your main job is to help invest huge amounts of assets in a way that gets you the highest possible risk-adjusted return. So you run cash management accounts, because a lot of this is sort of a checking book.
As a consumer, I don't care.
Right. As a consumer, but as a Pennsylvanian,
as a tataxpayer, I care.
You care. You're in Maryland. You care about. You got a really good state treasurer in Maryland, by the way. But in Pennsylvania, the average Pennsylvanian would care, because we help to return tens of millions millions of dollars.
Now, when you return tens of millions, that means you're making money out of the investments?
Yes, exactly.
I see. Wow.
And we use things like secured debt, high yield debt, which had not been done before. So we did some clever financial innovations. So there was a return on my Wharton education.
Right, I was going to
for
say
the
this
Pennsylvanians.
is right.
So I just say that really just to educate people who might in their own state say, I've never thought about the Treasurer's office. And I do think in politics there's a danger. We all will get obsessed now with the Obama re-election campaign and presidential politics, maybe some senatorial.
That's a chunk of money.
There are a lot of offices in the United States of America. There are 50,000 elected offices.
I'm sure the financial services industry know you well.
Yes, that is true. They're not allowed to contribute, but they do know me well. But it's I would urge people who are thoughtful enough to check on your website, I would encourage them to give themselves the homework assignment of asking what other elected offices that I haven't necessarily thought much about might have a lot of importance on me. Zoning boards. Wow. How are they appointed? Are they elected? What are they doing in your neighborhood? Are they affecting the drinkable water, the quality of your parks, the quality of your real estate? So I just make the point because we're talking really big money in the Pennsylvania context. And I'm a business leader who's run Treasury as a business leader would. Increased efficiency by roughly 19% in a variety of measures.
Like the biggest thing you do then is manage that money?
Yes. And that's, in fairness, I'm just being, in part because you're an old friend, I'm being fully disclosing. So you say, well, gee, you've made a $40 billion difference over here and a $400 million difference over here and a $40 million. So I'm enough of a business guy that even though it doesn't necessarily glitter in the light as a consumable, but back to the consumer side. We do several things at PA, and again, they can just click onto patreasury.gov to find any of this. You, like I, have a lot of interest in energy issues. One of the portals into energy policy is the question, can I spend less on it? Is there a way that I can do things to my home or to my commercial real estate where I save more in the long run than I spend? The silver lining is I've reduced my carbon footprint and maybe, I'm not damaging the environment as much as I might have. But
who cares about that?
But for right now I want to make money. And you say, look, spend $3,000 now, and you're going to make it back in a year and a half, and after that, every year you're making $1,000. The average person says, hey, I think I'll make that investment. And so we help people. We have a home energy loan program.
Oh, so you have money.
Yeah, we do that. We do it through investment vehicles with significant protection for the principal. We get market rates of return. It's really a lot of fun. But from the taxpayer's point of view, it's a good return on investment. It's a good risk asset, and you also are getting people to reduce the cost of energy generally because you're reducing it. But for the consumer, it's straightforward. I'm getting a discounted loan for cash up front because it might cost you $15,000 to retrofit your house with all kinds of clever things that will pay for itself over 3 years. But it's like, where am I getting that $15,000? So we help with that. We do it in coordination with federal grants. Again, just check out the Keystone Help Program for Home Energy Loan Program. All of this is searchable through patreasury.gov. And then the microloans. I mean, the idea there, and it's been a little tough, honestly, because interest rates dropped so low. But my concern as an entrepreneur was to use community organizations to make sort of micro loans to entrepreneurs.
So you're being like Starbucks.
The sort of $50,000 loans that a lot of people, especially women, were coming off of the unpaid workforce, doing the most important work we ever do in life, raising our kids, and they were stroking their credit cards, which is a very dangerous and expensive way to fund your business. We wanted a substitute for that, so we gave birth to a bunch of micro-lending initiatives.
And this is run through community
and there's a term of our community CDFIs, Community Development Finance Institutions.
But I mentioned because Starbucks giving out money for entrepreneurs, they're running it through CDFIs also. So that's why they stole your idea.
Actually, let's do a search. Let's check how that's going for them.
Oh, this is wonderful.
So we do a lot. It's really fun. The Treasury, because it's independently elected, we can be innovative. We've done a ton to help people with economic security in economically challenging times. We've run the office like, big-hearted but efficient business leaders. And we have a bunch of programs, including unclaimed property, including PA529.com, including a micro-lending program. And people, because of, word of mouth and great internet capacities, people can check out all of this via patreasury.gov.
And what you're saying about people saying, I don't care what you do in the government as long as you stay away from me.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the great stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's great to see you. Thanks. Have fun.